Замечательно. Ага.
Сейчас, секундочку.
Все, лайф. Good evening. Good evening, Dr. Ted.
Hi, Jane.
It's good to see you again. It's Thursday again, so how do we choose our topics? This topic came to me by itself, and apparently I found out that many people talk about special abilities, like sixth sense. Yeah. And people were asking me why did we schedule such a conversation? Are we proud of ourselves that we're
Of
empaths?
course we are. Oh, did I say something wrong?
Or do we want to teach people something, how to do certain stuff, maybe how to fly with a broom? No, I'm not going to teach you. It's my proprietary business. I said that this conversation is to warn, because in most of the cases, people are showing these abilities as wonderful ones. They are told to others that it's cool to have them.
It is.
Okay, let's elaborate on this one. How cool is this?
I just want to address your reference to teaching someone something. So this is the notion of the teacher. The teacher is the person who realized that you cannot teach anyone anything. That's the teacher. Before that, the person cannot consider himself a teacher. The reason for that is very simple, because we are the full reflection of this force of love which created us, which is all-knowing. So we are all-knowing by design. And that was a very reassuring notion by my teacher, with whom I studied prayer since 2000, when I asked her about when I would know things. And she said, don't worry about it. You know things already. You're just not aware of it. And in a due time, which is established by higher consciousness, the things you think you don't know will rise up in your consciousness. You will have full feeling like you start knowing something new. But that's not something new. You're already aware of that long time ago, from the beginning of the universe.
It's remember we were talking about the Russian scientists call it noosphere.
Yeah, there is a notion of noosphere, yes.
Yeah, it's like kind of database around Earth. That's their opinion.
Yeah, Akashic record, yes.
Yes, you can call it Akashic records as well, where they have everything about everybody. But I would also say everything about everything.
Right.
What's going to happen with the probably way right, way left, way straight, way back. So all of the variations.
Yeah, about that. I knew about it from the studies I did. I did yoga, I did transcendental meditation, I did Sufi studies, and many other things, including the Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox religion. So I knew about the existing of some kind of universal field of knowledge, whereas everything is reflected like a big data storage. But I never actually touched it before I went for the visit of one holy man who was a practicing Jew, and he was accepting people to give them advice on life.
Mm-hmm.
At that moment, I had a very difficult personal situation, and I decided to went ahead and to have a talk with him. So I'm coming to this man, And of course, all the spiritual things are located in the Toronto North at Steels and Bathurst. Like it just, if anybody need to know where the spiritual center of the universe, that's it. That's there. So I went to his private house and then met him there, and he asked me to pay for his services 1 penny, which I did. So you have to pay something, but you have to pay for it. And then he opened a book which was written in Judaism about 6,000 years ago. It's called Book of Life. And then he put his finger on the line and he started translating from ancient Hebrew into modern day language, saying everything about me and what happened to me and how many children I have and what is my life situation, translating from the thing which was written 6,000 years ago exactly about me. It's called Opening of the Book of Life.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I realized that something is going on which is not supposed to happen, because the book which was written many thousand years ago cannot possibly contain any information about me, according to the human knowledge. But it did.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's the first time when I tangibly was introduced to that universal field of knowledge which contained a record about everybody and anything.
About me, probably because the topic is two empaths talking and drinking tea. The way how I realized it, that the answers started to appear somewhere here,
Right.
right in the, not in the heart. Probably it's called spiritual heart, but between solar plexus and heart, somewhere there.
It's called wisdom of the heart.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting. But how did you find out that you have empathic abilities?
Well, a good one. I noticed that I was different from the very beginning of my life because my reactions were opposite to the reactions of majority of the boys. When they were torturing kids by attaching the empty can to their tails and happily looking how the scary little cat running with that thing banging in the back of the animal, I was actually crying for these cats which they were torturing. So I realized that something is different. And I also noticed that when I'm watching movies where people laughing, I'm crying, and where people crying, I'm laughing.
How old were you?
12, 13,
Oh. Mm-hmm.
which was strange. Like,
Yeah, for the regular boy, it's strange.
Yeah, this comedy when people getting beaten up or falling, unfortunately, and injure
laughing.
themselves. Everybody's laughing.
Yeah.
I wasn't laughing at those things. I was crying for these people because I felt their pain. Even that pain was imaginary, that wasn't real,
Yeah.
but I still felt the pain. It's no good situation when you fall and injure yourself. There's nothing laughable about it too much.
You know what? Now I'm recalling I had the same reaction. I never laughed
Right.
at those comedies.
Right.
I found out that something's wrong with me. That not wrong, but it's a bit different. I was born and I grew up in a little, I can't call it a village because it didn't even look like a village, in a desert. And there were many people dying in there. People would be sinking because it was on the lake and different situations. And some of dead people, right the next night, they would come to me and ask me to pass some of the words, 2-3 sentences to their relatives. I couldn't understand a thing out of what they were passing on, but I felt obligated. So when I would go to these people, of course I was so scared that people were going to be laughing at me. But as soon as I would pass those words, relatives understood them. Relatives exactly knew what it was about, which puzzled me.
Right.
And I was crying. I didn't want it because just imagine you go to sleep and the dead person comes to you and says, "You know what?" And some of the passing words were totally strange. not the ones that I would care about. Like, for example, tell her to get this sweater back and pass it to this guy. Like, why do you even care?
All right.
You are there. And when I asked the next person that came to me, the dead person, why me? Like, why are you telling me this? Why can't you tell it to them? And this dead person said, but they don't hear us. So then I realized that apparently some people can hear and some people cannot hear.
We are sliding into a very strange field of talking to dead people and animals.
Dead people and dead animals. About dead animals, I'm afraid of dead animals, by the way.
Nothing to be afraid, they're still the same.
I understand.
They're just young and happy. Yeah?
Dead animals?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I had 2 visits from the dog, my son's dog, which passed on several years ago.
Uh-huh.
And first time he just visited to tell that he's okay and everything's fine.
Uh-huh.
And at that moment, I didn't know how to attract him to stay longer. So I just asked, but he was always hungry when he was with us, right?
Mhm.
Because he was like continuously searching for something to eat. So I said, are you hungry? I have enough to eat there. And he said, I don't need to eat here because I'm always full. And he ran off. And at that moment when he ran off, I realized that if I call him by name, he would stay longer. But that was too late.
Aw.
I mean, that's all happened in a dream, of course. Yeah.
Dreams
And
are very
I'm, as
interesting
a neurologist, I can testify that I'm not crazy.
You know what? I seriously thought I am crazy with all of these abilities. I thought, especially when they became quite strong, and I was able to light up the bulb, for example, with my thought, with the power of the thought, and other stuff. So I decided to go to. At that time, I was studying at university, so I decided to go to a psychiatrist.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. So I complained to them. I said, you know what? I think I'm crazy. I think I'm mad. So probably I'm going to get a piece of paper, but I didn't know what to do after with this piece of paper. And at that time, the guy was fixing the light bulb in their office, and there were 2 psychiatrists talking to each other. And then I was still telling them how crazy I am, and the guy said, "You know what? I'm not doing anything in here." And 2 psychiatrists looked at him and asked him, like, "Why? Well, you fixed everything. Thank you." He says, "I didn't fix anything." So he was holding the light bulb, but it was not connected to anything. So these 2 women looked at me, asked me, "Is there anything that can calm me down?" I said, "Water, lake, ocean, whatever." So they wrote a paper that I need a vacation from university, and they said, "You know what? Go home." So I honestly tried.
Good one.
Back to the topic about like many people try to gain these abilities. When I was going to this meeting, one of the very, very, very powerful empaths asked me to tell everybody, please tell everybody this is not cool.
Yeah, that's hard to pass to people. The truth is that there is a technologies which not easily, but with certain training and certain practice, you can gain many supernatural abilities, which in yoga called siddha, and you can practice them and use them. The problem with this is that when people enter in different streams of self-improvement and philosophies and some religious groups, they never warn them that there is a deception there. This deception, called in the Eastern Orthodox religion прелесть. I mean, that the person would be given something very nice looking, but that thing would destroy him.
Прелесть, my precious.
Yes. Yes, something like that. Прельщать.
No, I'm trying to find something in English that would translate it perfectly.
Well,
Прелесть.
it's a temptation. The good translation, the proper translation would be temptation, because you're tempted by something, and that's very beautiful, very interesting to you, and very unusual, and you're getting it, and you're very happy, yet you do not know that this ability is given to you not from the kingdom of light, but this ability is given to you from the kingdom of darkness. It's look exactly like kingdom of light feature. It's you cannot distinguish, because you do not have spiritual ability to do that. You cannot really deeply pray and understand what is it. It's just fun to play with, and you're playing with it until the crushing results would come out, and the bill for the using of that ability would come to you, and you wouldn't be happy with that bill, because that bill would be quite severe.
Oh yeah, and nobody's talking about this bill.
Nobody talking about the bill. See, there was in the monastery of Athos, which is the center of the Eastern Christianity, there was many prominent monks who knew God personally because they met him. And one of that monk, when they asked him how to make difference, how to distinguish between things from God and not things from not from God, and he said, and with a smile, he said, "My son, it's very easy. If something coming to you from God, you would not be doubting it. It will be crystal clear that it is from God. If you doubt it, be careful, because it is probably already not from God." That's simple, right? That's simple, right? So, as I explaining to my patients who is coming to me to get prayerful help with different conditions and diseases, that if you're rising up there in prayer, there is 100 doors there. They're all golden, they're all shiny, they're all beautiful, with beautiful, beautiful ornaments. And on each of those 100 doors, there is a sign, the way to God, or the way to the undivided consciousness, or whatever you put, whatever in your imagination, the sign should be to the higher realm. But the thing is that only one of those 100 doors are going to God. 99 of them is going into temptation, into the fake universe of the human created God.
Human created.
As people think in their imagination about God, they're creating the artificial realm, which kind of look like God. It's beautiful as well, but it's not.
And people want it.
People want it, they like it, they want it, they toy with it all their lives. I can testify to this very, very clearly, because 2 years ago, I myself found out that I do live in possession of the dirty spirit and my own soul. All my life I spent with it, and I used to it, and I never was able to see it clearly until some other people started praying for me and gave me this possibility to look at the things from the side, not from my own point of view, but from the point of view of the observer who do not involve himself in the process, right? And then I saw it, and it was a terrible discovery. I have to give myself a new education. In 1.5 years, I got education in demonology and start reading things, and because I was in the situation when I have to do something right away. What else can I say? The deception was so profound and so old that the person, without outer help of somebody who is either spiritually more mature or can pray better or have better understanding, it's just nearly too impossible to find out the difference between unreal and real. So many things which I considered spiritual in my experience in my early life, there was not things from God. There was things from the other so-called reality, which is not reality.
You know what I'm thinking about now? What you said that you know exactly because you have no doubt, but other stuff has varieties.
Yes, yes, that's one of the clues. You cannot make the judgment 100% with this, but this is one of the big clues. Yes.
So now going to abilities. Ability. Some people are born with these abilities. Some people get them at a particular moment of life. Could be accident, could be death, clinical death, could be surgery, could be something. But I'm thinking about that. There are so many subjects where you can use these abilities. Like, for example, white, black, red, magic,
Yeah.
right? And people think that white magic is good, black and red magic is bad.
Well, there's nothing good or bad, but the results will be different, of course. In the experience of the person who is using magical tricks to achieve certain things, there will be a lot of suffering coming along later. In the experience of the person who submitted himself to the higher consciousness and abandoned own will and own imagination, there will be calm and peace and love in the experience. It doesn't mean that there will be no suffering, but suffering will be reduced and not that severe, bearable. Once upon a time, I had this young lady who was a disciple of the Mrs. Blavatsky. You heard about they have a society here in Toronto, so she was
Really?
yeah, they have society in Toronto. Yeah, there's headquarters and everything. They have societies all over the world. And she came because she had certain physical symptoms, which she was her understanding was not enough to understand what's going on. So she came to ask me for the advice. And we talk, and all people who follow in Blavatsky are refined people with a high intellectual potentials and artistic and all this. And she was exactly that. She was very smart, very interesting, very educated, very mannered. And she was talking to me and she would not understand what I'm trying to convey to her. In the end of our talk, I said, look, I want to give you a very simple example. Why you go into your society and why I'm going to and praying what I'm doing. In this particular part of knowledge which you involve in, you go in there because you want to get your own personal will stronger and be able to do more things. You are actually growing your own personal will. In the thing I'm doing, when I'm coming, I understand that I need to submit my will, turn it off completely, and never use it again. And I only need to learn how to pray and to know the will of the higher consciousness of God, our Father, Mother. There's many names. The name is not that important. But the important part is that that force do have own will, and that will for us always better than our own will. And even in the best of the best of the best situations, when we are at our best, the will of that consciousness will be much better than ours always, because it's by design. It's our creative, the force which created us. So by design, it does have better grip on reality and understanding what we need. Because in many cases, we want things, but we do not need things. And to make the distinction is a very difficult life task. Majority of the people don't even want to make a distinction. Well, they just go for the thing they want, and they get in it, and they enjoy it for a certain time, and after that they see that it's not enjoyable anymore, and they need next one and next one and next one and next one, and after that several decades of their running like that, they feel empty, abandoned, sad, depressed, and then they start learning things around, asking, and they realize that that lifestyle they led was fake.
Mm-hmm.
All the pursuit they have were fake. That was for the entertainment of their own will and their own selfishness. This is the good period now to understand these things and to start practicing prayer as it intended to be practiced, not as people want it to be. Let me tell you why people don't like truth and why people like lies.
Okay.
You want to know?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the thing. The lie is like prostitute. Whatever the position you want it to be, it will accept that position. It will bend for you, and you will be very happy because exactly as you said, the lie will do it.
Yeah.
And that's why people like the lie so much, because it's so adjustable. The truth, people don't want it and don't like it because you have to bend to truth, because truth is unbendable. Whatever you do to it, whatever you tell about it, whatever you think about it, whatever you try to change, it's unchangeable. It's truth. It's not from humans. It's not from human consciousness. It's not from dual consciousness. So people don't like it because they don't want to adjust themselves to something. They want something to be adjusted to that.
Yeah, this is true. Here I am, do something for me.
Yeah. Well, we know we're raising the whole generation of princesses and kings. Who's gonna clean the floor?
We will. I can do it. For some reason, I recalled one of my clients. People like to go to mediums to find out their future. People really like to do, especially women, right? Especially women. So, and I always tell them it's dangerous. Tell why it is.
Well, in my experience, out of those fortune tellers, there is people who do understand spiritual realm and know how to cautiously proceed and capable of acting in spiritual realm and behave themselves properly. The percentage is probably 1 out of 20. Out of 20, the 15 would be probably the charlatans, and some other would be honestly misled people, and one person would be probably person who understands.
Mm-hmm.
How to find that one person? I know how to find that one person, but I don't need any more that one person. But for others, I don't know how to find that one person. How to make your judgment? It's difficult. If you don't know how to pray and you don't know how to listen to the higher consciousness, to the undivided consciousness, non-dual consciousness, it's not easy. It's hard. There is a bright example. Here in Toronto was residing a famous psychic who was making accurate predictions and doing lots of things which amazed people. And quite often the government officials from Canadian government would come to his house to get questions answered and to have a personal appointment. So he was quite prominent. He used to live downtown. I don't want to use the name, but whoever wants to inquire, they would find it easily. And then one day he decided to. So the claim is that he knows something more than other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
One day he decided to sell his house. The fake customer came in for the fake appointment, pulled the gun, and shot him in the head.
Lovely.
That was the end of story with a prominent psychic who was not able to see his own death, violent death coming right to him. So my question is, like, what kind of psychic we're talking about? Most prominent holy people would know their destiny and tell it up front many years. For example, the scandalous figure of the Rasputin, right? His daughters were telling him Father, you do not belong to St. Petersburg. Let's go back to Siberia, to your village. You're not from this society. You should go back because they kill you. And he would answer, I know they will kill you. He knew it. And he was telling about this very easily and straightforward, that he possessed the knowledge that he would be violently killed in St. Petersburg. Yet he decided to stay. Many other holy people would know the date when the departure. Recently, the elder from the Arizona monastery told us that after his departure in a couple of months, the war would start, which humanity haven't seen before.
Ta-da!
And exactly at that time, this poop virus, as they call it, was unleashed to scare people. So that's examples of the real knowledge of the higher realm. And there's many examples of the knowledge which seems to be real, but as in that case with that prominent psychic, as I gave this example, it's not a real knowledge. It's some knowledge, but that knowledge is not coming from the higher realm. That knowledge is being stolen from somewhere illegally.
Demons?
Yes, demons. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Demonic activity. It's manifest exactly as a holy activity. It's making sure that you would not be able to do judgment by yourself. It will present you all proper claims and proper judgments and all things, and you would buy it and you would spend with it many years, only to realize many years, decades later, that you've been fooled around.
Hold on, what I wanted to talk about. One lady asked me, she put actually into our event on Facebook, how body affects soul. Does it affect it at all? Is it possible to affect souls through the body?
The body, as you're using it, is not really the body. The real body, in the proper meaning, is the body of Christ, or the guardian angel, or many names to it, but that's not a physical body. That's our inheritance from the higher realm, which each of us do have. That's immortal body. That's body of spirit. The body you're talking about, yes, it does have certain influence in spiritual things, certain limited influence, and there is many ways of dealing with your past to the next understandings, next knowledges. There is a certain practices in yoga when they are abandoning completely the needs of their physical body in order to be able to pass a huge amounts of suffering they had in their generations through that suffering of their body, for example. I use that method a lot in my life because it's much better to have your body sick than to have your soul sick.
Totally agree. So we're coming then, it leads us to pain.
To pain, yeah. This is the thing when somebody wants to be the monk in the Orthodox monastery, the first thing that person being taught is the fairy tale about the one monk who got healed from the terrible disease after many years of praying. And he was so happy that he was healed of that disease, and he's running to his elder and saying, Father, I just got healed through prayer from that disease I was suffering for so many years. And the elder stopped him and said, son, go back to your cell right away and start praying that God will give you back your disease, but instead will give you the knowledge of your sins. Since disease is just a symptom of something else, of some spiritual trouble brewing in the other dimension, it is not profitable for the person to get rid of disease without fixing the spiritual problem, without fixing self-righteousness, anger, envy, frivolity, many other vices, right? And people go for it. They fix in the body all the time, and that's the reason why our medical system is failing us, because medical system is not in position to understand what the man is, what the human being is at all. The understanding of human being is medieval. Spiritually, the medical system is still in 16th, 14th centuries with the understanding of man. So we injecting in them millions of dollars, and each year they say we need more, and in the end result we have more chronic diseases, and we have majority of the seniors with the Alzheimer and all that, and that's a result of the poor model of man, because the model of man in medicine was not updated last 300 years. It was ill-conceived in the very beginning, but it was not updated for the last 300 years. The medicine is still teaching them that man is all these bones, all these little pipes with pumping the blood, all these little tiny wires called nerves, and that some meshy substance between our ears called brain. And then after describing all that, which they learn from the what? From what medical doctors, when the students learn about all these things?
From dead bodies.
From the course of anatomy, which is proceeding from the Latin word anatem, cutting, of the dead body. So they basically, the basics of the medical education is studies of dead body. Now my question to everybody, you know the answer, so you just don't answer. My question to everybody, how much life is in dead body? 0.000%. And the medical doctor studying the dead body for 3 years. This is the basic of all medical knowledge. After that, the medical doctor starts studying chemistry, physics, and other things going into a live body, cells and everything. But the basic knowledge is being, fundamental knowledge is being based on the studies of the dead body, of the cutting of the dead body. This is very sad. This is sad and going nowhere.
Yeah.
It's sad in many, many dimensions, including simple medical dimension. Because I studied with the Dr. Alplager, I studied the cranial sacral therapy, and he is the neurologist, and he at the same time the osteopath, right? So he told me that when he was present at the neurosurgery, he saw that the plates of the skull can move because they've been alive. But as soon as the death happened, 3 hours later, these plates is welded together forever. And that's what doctors studied, that these plates cannot move. The part of the skulls cannot move. Why did they study that? And I studied that, and they told us that because that's perceived from the anatomy course, right? You knock on them and they weld it together in one structure of the skull. But when you see it alive, you see that it's not so. It's exactly opposite. They move quite a lot. So that's just an example of how many mistakes in the modern medicine happening because of the whole structure of education is incorrect, and the model of man is also incorrect. There is no understanding that man is a spiritual being and have to be addressed as such. It cannot be addressed as a piece of meat on the factory belt.
Which leads to very interesting question. So here we are, new empath, let's say, people who find out they have abilities and they go to study esoteric knowledge, or let's say white magic, or something else, or something shamanic, something else, other stuff, because there are many modalities, right? And they start working with the energy.
Energy, yes. Another word.
By themselves, ill people. I always warn these ill people that try to work with energy on others, that it is dangerous. First resolve your own issues, then maybe asking permission.
Right. Well, I assume that very soon there will be a great changes in that because these new generations, which is our kids, they would not study these things. They would know them from nowhere. They would just know,
They were just
and their knowledge will be proper. I think that the market as it existed for these studies would be changing greatly because many things which were for sale would be given freely now, including the ability to pray, ability to have intuition, ability to know things directly. All these things would flourish and be multiplied among people, and people would know how to pray without studying. Maybe with studying, I don't know exactly, but that would be changed greatly. So whatever your concerns you have, many of them would just fall off like a scale because we're going through this gigantic change of consciousness right now. We're in the last kind of stages of that change, which I warned my group about 6 years ago. That change is coming. And again, it's not good, it's not bad, this change. It's just a change. It's a fact. And it's becoming either painful for you or painless as you use it. You use it properly, you adjust to it, you change your ways to the kind ways, to the forgiving ways, no problem, you pass. It's flying colors. You've been stubborn like before, you want to get angry at people, you want to deceive people, you want to punish people for no reason. Oops, I'm sorry. There will be repercussions, and they will be multiplied by the change period many times now. They always be, right? There are repercussions for the improper behavior in spiritual realm.
Yeah,
but now they will be multiplied. Look at this. I got angry at my bet in 90%, and right away I cut myself. So it's just a tiny little example. It's happening right away.
Yep.
Like if I do something improper, the hit coming right next second. Versus like 20 years ago, if I do something wrong, immoral, the repercussion would come 5 years later, 2 years later, next month, but never exactly at the same time. Now I'm getting right away. It's the same very second.
Did something bad, got upset with somebody, boom, here you go. Here you go.
That's funny that they came. You can like make up a scenario like that. It just happened.
It's life. You know what? I'm also not surprised, but both of us found out that knowledge, kind of recently, let's say like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, suddenly became available.
Yes, that's correct. That is correct in a big way. Yes.
Absolutely priceless knowledge.
Yeah, right now it's all over the place. Free, just take it. Because we came to the hopeless situation when we were hitting as a humanity for the huge cliff, as I say, without no bottom, into self-extinction and into medieval ages. And we've been stopped now. So the process is stopped now. We still have hope, and it's not happening at the moment. So our next step is to find out exactly what we need to do to prevent that in future. And that's partially this talks is about that.
So we were kind of, when I announced about this event, one gentleman asked, why talk about this? Why talk about abilities? Why not teach? I said we were doing it not just for prevention, but mostly for warning.
Yes, exactly.
remember. It could be.
Stop it. Just stop it. As I said in the beginning, the teacher, the person who realized finally that you cannot teach anything to anyone because everybody is all knowing. And this is beautiful. This is so liberating. Because when you don't know this simple truth, you have this fear that you wouldn't be in position to get some knowledge because that would be too late, or you wouldn't be good enough and stuff like that. When you have this simple knowledge that you already know everything you need to know, you already know. And in a due time, according to the schedule of the higher consciousness, it will be revealed to you and rise up to your lower level of consciousness, which we call daily consciousness. By the way, I want to make one statement. We call the non-dual consciousness changed state of consciousness, meditative consciousness, prayerful consciousness, whatever. And the general notion is that this, as we talk, is our normal kind of consciousness, and that is changed consciousness. So the truth is exactly opposite. That is our normal consciousness, the way we design and the way we're supposed to be. This, when people talk and judge everything and chirp and chirp and chirp, sometimes on taxpayers' dime, it's abnormality. It's a degradation of the design. It's a stepping away from the proper design. It's changed state of consciousness. The consciousness people on average have every day, it's a changed state of consciousness, meaning disease. It's inflamed. It's inflamed with fear. It's inflamed with self-righteousness. It's inflamed with many other things, but those two are the main things: fear and self-righteousness. Right?
Yeah.
They're all over the place, and I call that inflamed consciousness because it's continuously inflamed. It's always making some judgments or expecting some terrible things to come. The communists will come, the market will crash, the moon will fall on Earth, the virus came, which is right now seemingly true, and many, many other things. That's how that dual consciousness operates. And it's a continuous state of the hysterical fit, of tantrum, temper tantrum. It's, oh, everything's crashing, that's it, that's the end of it. Oh. Because the energy is, you need a lot of energy to run like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's why people stealing energy from other people around, because they waste it so much.
Yeah.
They don't want to make their own, so they quickly stealing it. And then you talk to the person like that, and in 15 minutes you start like dying like flower which wasn't watered for 2 months.
Then people are saying, one lady asked me some kind of question, which it's an interesting question, but I replied that I don't think I have enough energy to answer this question.
Exactly.
But then the other one interluded into this. She asked, isn't there opinion that energy is everywhere and you can grab it from everywhere?
That's exactly correct. The problem is that people don't know how to do it properly. The energy is everywhere. Right here where we are is millions of watts of energy, whatever. You can light whole Earth without electrical stations, without nuclear power stations. But there is not many people who know how to use that, how to get it.
But sometimes
It's in the same thing. I can compare it to the asthmatic, to the person with asthma. There is whole room filled with the perfectly clean, fresh air, and the person cannot breathe. The person is dying from choking, from shortage of air. That's what we do to ourselves in the spiritual world. There is tons of love, tons of energy, tons of good stuff, and we're dying from shortage of all of that above.
yeah, people
I
don't.
think I impressed you in Snezhana.
No, you know what I recalled? I recalled that.
Thanks God, it's okay. I didn't impress you, so everything back to normal. Just relax.
No, you know what was funny? What I recalled, I was driving to one place, and I know that you were praying for me, and I felt love. And I was saying, no. Vida, enough. I cannot stand this much love.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the guy, friend of mine, he's looking at me. He says, I usually say it's not enough. Give me more. Give me more. And
Yeah.
you're saying enough. Stop it.
Yeah. Yeah. I had this similar experience. I was visiting a friend of mine. She is in the next life right now, and she used to live in Windsor, and it was winter, and she is a pretend little tiny old lady who just play those bells in the church thing, and
Mhm.
but for real, she's a huge healer and a practitioner of the Christian Science healing and everything, and she know the way with the prayer and know how to harvest that energy. So I'm coming to her building, and as I start walking towards the entrance of the building, there is a fire start burning in my chest. And as I approaching her door in the elevator, the fire is getting to the extent that I'm getting no good. I'm getting sick from it.
Too much.
So she opening the door and she knows. Is something wrong with you? Do you feel no good? I said, no, it's exactly opposite. I feel so good that I might not be able to bear it.
Yeah.
And she said, it's okay. Just sit down here. I'll pour you tea. You will be fine. You'll be okay. And I was okay. And that was good. But I mean, the amount of energy she unleashed on me, even we haven't seen yet one another. We just had a scheduled meeting, right?
Mhm.
It was already so that the body was not able to tolerate it. The body is going like jittery and high.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was quite an experience, yeah. And she shared with me a lot of trade secrets, which is not secrets. But,
Tricks.
yeah.
But most
no,
of people,
I miss her very much.
most of people think that you can't give too much love. Like they're telling me, like, why do I give it to everybody? And I say I will never be empty, because the more you pass on love, the more you have.
That's the thing. The one of the main reasons of suffering is the notion that one needs love. Now, everybody know the almond covered with chocolate, right? The candies.
That's a good one.
So my question
That's a
is,
good one.
okay, hold on. My question is, does the bag of almond covered with chocolate candies need more almonds?
No.
No. It's already filled with almonds, right? On the same token, that's how we made. We made from joy, love, and that's creating all energies you want and you need. And that endless, it's doesn't have any limits, unlimited. The thing is that people don't know about it, so they want to harvest love elsewhere, which is right inside, right here. Wisdom of the heart,
Mm-hmm.
right there. Right there, there's a nuclear power station capable of moving the sun from the orbit. Not just the Earth, the sun.
Let's leave the sun already.
Okay, sorry, apologies. Cancel that. Scratch that. I mean, that's an ancient Indian text that your soul have more energy than whole universe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why we're reading in the Christian scriptures that Jesus Christ telling about himself, I was before Abraham was. And all the people around him thinking, he's crazy because Abraham was many centuries ago and he's a young man of 33 years. What are you talking about? So, the feeling that we loved is happening when we pass through ourselves that incredible unlimited love to others, and then we feel like they love us back. That's the human, how humans feel the love. So there is no need of asking for love anyone. Just pass your love out to others, and you will feel like they love you back.
Many people want to be loved, but they don't want to generate this love by themselves towards others.
That's the wrong concept, the wrong design. In their minds, there is a wrong design of these things. They think that they need love, and that's how majority of the suffering happened from that simple thought that I need love. Nobody need love. You made from it. The chocolate almonds doesn't need more almonds. They're already as good as they are.
And like, can you recommend people to not really reconnect to this feeling being made of love, but how to generate love by themselves?
No problem. Yes, I'm ready to answer that. You come to the wrong person. Exactly where you need to be. I had in our group this lady who were going back home, and she called me in the evening and said, "I go in tomorrow to visit the Eastern Europe, and I need to heal a lot of people there. Can you teach me how to pray?" I said, "How much time do we have?" "Well, I can drop by to you in about 1.5 hours, and I'm gonna have 12 minutes because my flight is in the morning." My first inclination was to say, "No, we need like dozens of years in the monastery to study how to pray."
Mhm.
But then I stopped myself and I prayed, and I realized that that's not so.
Mhm.
If there is a request like that, there should be an answer to that. So I said, "Okay, I can't use the name because, okay, Anne, I'll teach you how to pray McDonald's style.
Mhm.
In 5 minutes, you will have your prayer already established,
Mhm.
like in McDonald's.
Mhm.
You gave money, in 5 minutes, you have sandwich."
Okay.
Okay. So she came, and that's what I taught her. I said, "Look,
Let's do it.
Elizabeth,
Let's do it.
you need to, first of all, relax. The basis of everything is relaxation. You have to relax. It is advisable in the beginning to keep your eyes closed. It's not a big deal. It's not something very important, but it's just a little help. And the light should be dimmed a little bit around you. In order to relax better, the light should be dimmed a little bit. And should be, of course, silence and quiet around you. And you don't need to you have to turn your phone off and stuff like that. Everybody knows all that. That's very simple. And then the person, or all of you who is following us, want to recall the creature, either human being or pet, or it might be even a flower, which you love the most in this life, which you love the most, something which is so dear to you. And when you recall that person or pet, you need to think of, you need to see visibly how you love that person as a picture or as a movie, preferably colored. And when you do that, you have the warm feeling in your chest rising up. So you just, as a campfire, you just add a little bit to that fire already rising up in your chest, to that warm feeling. You just crank it up because you can. And you just keep cranking it up and don't be shy. Then you breathe out and you can open your eyes and come back. And when she did all that, I asked her, "Do you understand what you just did?" I said, "What?" "You just prayed for that person you love. That's prayer. That stream of love you felt in your chest, that's prayer. That's the basic of all prayers. The prayer is much more to that, infinitely more to that. But this is the basic. If there is no love, there is no prayer."
Yeah.
You can repeat the words for many, many dozens of years. If you do not have love in your heart, this is all empty words. You can repeat formulas and have some effects, but that's not prayer. That's something else. That's a witchcraft.
Witchcraft.
Yes, witchcraft.
What time is it now?
We've been talking 57 minutes. It's
You know
1
what?
minute to 8.
We're gonna wrap up now, and we welcome any questions. You can send questions either to me, to my email, to my messenger, to whatever. So we're gonna use them when we make next spiritual tea because my cup is empty.
Your cup is in.
I
Well,
need to refill.
Jesus said, I will give you water and you will not thirst anymore after you have that water.
Okay. Deal.
So
Thank you.
this stream has been also on my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Ted or Ted Savchenko.
So I will put all of the stream names under somewhere on my Facebook channel. Okay, and maybe in the email. So have an awesome evening.
Until the next time.
Bye-bye.